You're listening to the podcast between doctors and friends. With us here are two board certified doctors, Dr. Foz in family practice and Dr. Ray OB-GYN. And we have M with a mic.
Yeah, so this is my typical questions for when I see my friends, Dr. Foz and Dr. Ray. Just imagine we're at a restaurant like we always are, and then I ask a crazy question because I have two doctor friends who I believe know everything. So I was reading the Washington Post this week, and I saw an article where it said a single exercise can probably reduce cancer. And I thought, well, let me read about this more. And so essentially, it kind of reminded me like my exercise with F45. So it's functional 45, and essentially it's a gym that I go to 3 days a week, and I do circuit training. It's beautiful because basically they lay everything out, all these weights, and I've got 45 minutes to do it, and I love it. But after I read this article, I thought, oh my gosh, is this going to save my life? So, I know I throw everything at you both, and you look at me sometimes like she's crazy, or now I got to put down my fork because I got to answer your questions. But this is my next, seriously, my next question is this going to save me from cancer? Is it going to reduce cancer? So I know it's an off the wall question, and tell me as it is, ladies.
Well, I didn't read the article, so I'm not entirely sure what they said, but any form of exercise is going to help improve your health and keep your blood pressure down and improve all of your functions. So I don't think there's a negative thing to working out or exercising.
No, you're absolutely right. But this one was crazy because it said like on the cellular level, talking about reduction of cancer. It was one was particularly breast cancer. And again, I know I throw everything out to both of you. And I know I always said, hey, can you answer this question? Can you answer this question? So I just don't know. I saw this one and I agree. You can lower your blood pressure, all yada, yada, yada. But this one had to do with cancer. So, if you know it, I don't know if you've heard anything about it, but I just thought it was really interesting. And I kind of got hopeful because it was right when I started joining F45, and I'm thinking, oh my God, can I live a little longer?
Well, I mean, I'll throw in my 2 cents here, right? I do think I didn't read the article. I'm not familiar with the article, right? And then I think the implication that exercising one time is going to change your world is, the only way I can see that, real in any capacity is that it's the first step on a journey to maintaining a healthier lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how it's going to change your world. We're doing if they're implying that exercising once reduces your chances of dying of cancer or cancer spreading or whatever the parameters were, I think maybe a broad interpretation. I do think that there is validity to it in that we do know that, for example, breast cancer survivors who exercise regularly live longer. So that's a bit of counsel that I give to all of my cancer surviving patients or patients who are in a phase where they're able to exercise, that we absolutely do encourage it. It reduces side effects of treatments and just kind of keeps you stronger. And there's a couple of ways I look at this if you're interested in those details.
I think that article is clickbait. I am not a doctor. I practice one online. And
you take one online.
But if you think about it, I mean, now looking at it from a scientific point of view, how many athletes are there who got cancer?
Mm-hmm.
So on the flip side,
I think part of it is that this is the hard part, right? This is that we're all going to die of something, so whether it's cardiovascular disease or whether it's cancer or whether it's something else or serious infection. I mean, you can't prevent everything ever. Right. That's an unrealistic expectation of anything. But I do think that there is validity to it. If you look at this is how I look at it, is like when you exercise regularly, you have better muscle mass and muscle development. And I think of muscle mass and muscle development as like money in the bank. When you need that strength, you can call on it. Like when you have somebody who's like critically ill, if they're in the intensive care unit, they always shrink and get thin and they've used up all of their body's resources. And it just, even if it's not cancer, somebody who's just critically ill and can't move. So I kind of think if you go into a situation like that and you don't have a lot of physical reserve, then you're not probably going to do as well or may not have as good of an outcome, but whether that's measurable, I don't really know. There's so many variables associated with that. So I do think we know that exercise improves circulation. We know that exercise improves insulin sensitivity. I think that there's a lot of cancers that are kind of more fed by having high sugars. Breast cancer, prostate cancer are things that come to mind. Endometrial cancer, there's stuff that's out there. And so you should exercise. you absolutely should exercise to the best of your capability. But I don't know if one exercise session is going to be the end all be all, unless once again, that's the first step down a long road to good health.
I think I totally agree with both of you. So, see, I think we've all had our fair share of misery with cancer. And you're right. I think I don't want to say it was click and bait. I think it was giving me some sense of hope. We're starting to be in that next level. We all talk about it. You know, some of us have kids and our parents, we've lost our parents, and now we're getting up to that next level and category. And I think it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I can just extend or find anything extend. It was just a really interesting article because it was sort of a clickbait article in the sense that one exercise, and it really wasn't that. It was more like you said, you know, Dr. Foz, it was doing repeated exercise, but more in line of like weightlifting and building muscle mass. So exactly what you said. And so I guess I just looked at it from a sense of hope, and I thought, oh gosh, if I do this, can I make myself better? And that's probably not the case. I can make it a little better, but not.
Yeah, you should. And it's also about risk reduction. Risk reduction is not the same thing as risk elimination. Like, I don't think there's a way to eliminate all risk. There's a way to reduce it. And that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if the article made you feel better and made you wanting to exercise, more motivated, then that's a great thing. So I don't think it's a negative thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah, keep going with it and everything. And it's good. I think the more you talk about it, the more likely you might motivate other people. That's how you got motivated, right?
Absolutely.
So,
What is this F45 anyway?
Okay, so this is so great. So let me tell you the story. How
And
it
is it like Orange Theory or
It's kind of like it's actually a little different than Orange Theory, and how it started. And don't laugh at me. Do not make fun of me. I went to my healthcare, and I was taking this basically it was like a Weight Watchers version class. But they would give you after it's like a 16-week class, and after the halfway mark for free, they would send you to like their health department, and they had this. I can't even describe it. It was like this. I don't know. I thought it was for like a wheelchair where they wheel you in to weigh you, but it wasn't. It's like they claim they shoot electrodes up in your body. I can't explain it, but that's how they explain it. They shoot electrodes in your body and it measures your water. It takes a whole body composition of your weight. That's how they explain it.
That's legit.
Okay, get this. So after she does it takes like a minute. She sits me down and she has a printout of where I store all my body fat. And I'm waiting for it. I'm like, okay, it's definitely the abdomen or my thighs. She's like, nope, your thighs are pretty good. And she goes, in fact, your thighs are pretty symmetrical. They're the same. And that's really kind of unheard of, but it is. I'm like, oh, I'm like, definitely the abdomen. She's like, no, not there either. I'm like, well, I'm like an apple/banana shape. She's like, yeah, no, it's your arms. She's like, you're fat. You store your fat in your arms. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I don't have Michelle Obama arms. I wish I do. She's beautifully toned. So seriously, I started looking for like, where can I just build my arms? So W, my husband, W is a fan of Orange Theory, has been going there for years. But they are good, but they're a mix of cardio and weights, but really they stress on cardio and repetitive exercise. They're great. He loves them. But for me, I was looking for something really that focused on circuit training, bodybuilding, or muscle building, I should say. So I looked at F45, and then I went and saw C, and I saw C's cousin R, and R looked freaking amazing. She has 2 boys like me, and I'm like, how is this possible? She looked amazing. And she's like, oh, I go to F45. And I was like, I thought about that. And I'm serious.
I have to interrupt you. When you start throwing these initials out there, I'm like, who is C? And now I know.
I know, right? And R, yeah.
Well, and then, who are these people? Okay.
And then I know, right? And then I worked with this one of my colleagues, and she looked amazing too. And you can tell because when I last saw her, I mean, she looked fine, but she did not look the way she looked. I'm like, what are you doing? Because everybody, we talked about this, Ozempic or Metformin, whatever. She's like, oh, I'm going to F45. So I said, I'm going to try this. And I absolutely love it. Love it because one, we're all professionals here. We're super busy. My kid is, going to, starting college application. And Dr. Ray knows this because a couple years ago, both our oldest went to college and it was crazy. But I don't have to think. I just go in there. They're super nice. They have these different 9 or sometimes 12 stations. And you go in there.
It's a preset menu.
I love it. Love it.
And that's
love
great because it gets it done.
I totally, and you know what? In 45 minutes, I'm done. Sometimes I'm praying for it, is it over? Is it over? And they're like, nope, do it again. You're like, oh, but I totally love it. It's worth it. And so I saw this article and I'm like, oh my God, am I going to live? But you know what? You guys are bringing me back to reality because you're right. I think it's helpful, but it may not be the end all.
I think that a balanced workout regimen is really important. If you really want to get down to it, you absolutely should focus on resistance training. You absolutely should do cardio. Don't ignore that, though a lot of resistance training, especially at higher intensities, does have some degree of cardiovascular training associated with it. And then don't forget, the one thing that everybody forgets is flexibility and balance. So that's not a concern in your age group, but someday you won't be this age group, and that's when it's important because falls become a real hazard when you get older. People die from falling or are seriously disabled from falling, and that's like, it's hard to comprehend when you're not in that age group, right? You're like, how did I just walk and then I just fell and now I'm in a wheelchair, like that type of stuff. But I do think it's great that you're doing that. I think I think that you should maintain it when you talk about, so there is many ways to do body fat composition testing. There is that, the one they're talking about with you, with the electrical, I'm forgetting terms, here's my senior moments, but there's something, it's valid, but only to a certain degree. Like the real body fat composition testing requires like these, like water displacement and all kinds of weird stuff like that. And then a lot of people do, if you wanted to go serious, is to do full body DEXAs, so full body densitometry. That is another way to do it. It gives you like a more thorough breakdown. I don't know if that's all that helpful though. You know what I mean? It's like people want these deep analyses of things, and it's like, well, you don't have the muscle tone that you want, so maybe just work on that as opposed to worrying about my percentage is this percent and then it went to that percent. I think that's
right.
Yeah, I don't think it's
beneficial.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's helpful to know.
Yeah, it's not, but it's funny. It's a lot of people do that, and the only thing I would tell you, kind of harkening back to our previous discussions, just regarding where you feel like you put more fat tissue than muscle in your arms, it's actually better that you're storing your adipose tissue in your limbs as opposed to around your organs. So that, and that's often genetic and things, and so that's a good thing, like metabolically. But you also can't remember that we can't convert fat to muscle. You can burn away fat and you could build muscle. And so, and burning away fat and building muscle by resistance training is absolutely the way to do it. Well, an important tool in doing it. But remember, we can't change one tissue into another.
Oh, so is it true? I like what M is talking about, and M45 with weights, right? Right, M. And when you do weights, is it true that you're still burning fat even afterwards, like when you're laying down after you've been lifting weights?
The passive fat burning is what everybody wants. The rationale behind that is because you have more muscle mass, and muscle mass is theoretically more metabolically active, that your calories are still being burned more than if you didn't have that muscle mass. I don't know if that's something that's entirely measurable though. And I don't know, it's metabolic rate is this whole, like, it's vague and it's not really measurable in a lot of ways. So yes and no is probably the weird answer.
So it's probably just soreness.
Well, remember that's injury, and that takes calories to build. Like, it takes calories to heal injuries, right? But if that takes 10 calories, does that really matter? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
Like, how long were you sore for? Like, is it 2 weeks after you're doing F45 or?
It depends. Like when you first initially start, yes, it's sore. I mean, especially if you do like, I go 3 days a week, but if you do like the cardiac sessions, oh my gosh, those kick my butt. They are really, really, I think they work you out. But I think as you start to do it and you start to build that muscle mass, I think you get better. You don't hurt as much. You still, I mean, a good hurt is a healthy hurt. Dr. Ray and Dr. Foz, what I felt that was interesting also that I'm learning is really how to balance. So you guys know V from San Diego. She's a professor, and she was telling me that she, in one of her studio classes, At first she was doing a lot of stretches, but now she finds that they're starting to turn their classes around into strength, like strength. And they're doing a lot of strengthening because it's helping with balance. So that's something that I'm also learning with F45. It's like, I couldn't do a lunge if you paid me. And I was like, I'm not doing it. But now I'm actually can do it. And that's helping too. So yeah, I mean, this is just my journey. And I know I always pepper you with questions. And I know, like, if we were having dessert, I don't let you eat dessert because you're like, Jesus Christ, she has another question. So that was my question. Seriously. I know. I mean, if I'm having dinner with R and I'm like, hey, Dr. Ray, can you tell me this question? And she's like, Jesus, me just eat. But yeah, so that's what I was thinking. I read that, and that's the one I had to ask this week.
I think it's good that you're doing the muscle building. Like I said, that's money in the bank, and it's good for your bone density. And it's good for everything. So continue. You
All
absolutely
right.
should do it. I would never say no unless it was making injuries worse or things. And that just really means that you need to rehab those injuries and then work your way up correctly. That's just make sure you're doing things correctly. And you should be sore, but you shouldn't be like a miserable sore.
Right.
And that's where rest time in is important, because that's when you can heal those micro tears in your muscles that you create when you lift heavy weights.
Wow.
And then full body, like that's one thing I will also say, right? Is don't forget the full body thing. I'm not saying this is um, it's more that, if you're interested in building your arms, absolutely build your arms, but don't forget your shoulders, and don't forget your chest muscles, and don't forget your back muscles, and don't forget the rest of your body. Like, because that will help you achieve your overall fitness and health goals. So don't just focus. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I can see a lot of people saying, well, I want to build my muscles and I'm just going to build, I'm going to focus on my, biceps or something. And
I'll
go from
tell
there.
you, it's awesome. I really love it. It's and working everything out. I mean, honestly, it's the back, it's the legs, it's the triceps, it's all that good stuff. I mean, I think the next thing I have to do is, so here's the bad part. It's like I think Dr. Ray told me, you know what, you can't exercise a bad, or you can't X away a bad diet. And that's the other thing that I have to do next, is like I have to watch what I eat, like in terms of calories, coupled with this. Because the other day I was looking at my work computer. We have a SharePoint. I was looking at some department photos. And I'm going to tell you three. I cried when I saw a picture of myself. I had a beautiful suit on, but I look like the Hulk. And then D, my son, said,
Hmm.
he was like, oh my God, you look like the Hulk. And I was like, I do. And I mean, we were both, it was horrible.
Oh.
And I know, seriously. And so
It's probably the
I
shoulder pads.
no, not even. I have to call the department photographer and said, either there's two things. You're gonna delete me and erase me like I never existed that day, or you're going to have to like shrink me to like three. I was like, this is not happening. So I think, I was thinking about this article and this hope of, okay, can I survive? Can I extend my life a little longer? And okay, gotta watch those calories. So everything you're saying, Dr. Ray and Dr. Foz, is so true. So I have this. This will be the journey. So if we talk next time, my goal is to look better than when you last saw me. But yeah.
Well, I don't get to see you often, but I think you look great, and I don't want you to dislike yourself because of a picture that might have been done with bad angles and bad lighting, which happens a lot. And a picture that's not flattering, that you think is not flattering, is not representative of how beautiful you are as a person.
Thank you. You're so kind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I have so many pictures from when I was younger, like maybe college, med school, and I had such a low opinion of myself at that time. But now when I look back at it, I'm like, oh my God, I was so beautiful. look how pretty I was. Your perception changes with time. Back then I would have been like, oh no, I'm fat and I'm ugly and my hair's awful and this and that and everything. But now I'll look back at some pictures and I'll be like, look how young I was. Look how nice my smile was. Look how nice my hair was. Like, I would give anything to look like that. But when you're going through it, you don't feel that way. So I definitely have pictures of me being thinner, me being fatter, all the gamut of it. And I did used to get kind of disappointed when I would see the fatter pictures of me, but then I'm just like, you know what? That's just my journey.
And you know what? It's all about the
Like it,
shoes. I
you
mean,
know? Yeah.
if your shoes are great, then
Well,
You know,
once again, it's true though. There is a lot to be said for lighting and angles. It's really, that's why when people post selfies, they've taken like 600 different, versions of the same one to curate that one that has the best everything. So don't beat yourself up.
Dr. Ray, I want to say something. So one of the things my mom, we go back, oh my gosh, ladies, what, 30 years now?
yeah.
And yeah, that's a long time. And I remember how we all looked. And I look back, Dr. Foz, Dr. Ray sent me a picture when you went to med school and it was your graduation. And I looked at us, I'm like, we were so pretty back then. And we look, obviously, I mean, we were in our 20s. And I think of what, Dr. Ray just said. And I don't know if you know this, Dr. Ray, but my mom always thought, as when our group of friends, she always thought you were so beautiful. She always said, "Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful," and she said that back then, and she still says that now. And you're right. I think we're humble. We don't think about, oh my gosh, we were beautiful back then because we were, I think, also cerebral. We were like, we need to finish grad school, we need to finish medical school, we need to,
Well,
get our
everybody's
certificate.
beautiful when they're young. There's things
Yeah.
that you don't have to. There's
But we
part
don't
of you.
think that. So,
Well,
Of course not.
given
We're
that I
women
don't
in
have
this society. Why would we ever think that?
right? But okay, so given that I don't have girls, I have two boys. Dr. Ray, what would you say to, your beautiful daughters and they're gorgeous? But what would you tell them now, given what, I felt like we have a missed opportunity because we were always thinking we need to be cerebral, we need to finish this and be accomplished and never pause to be like, admire ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I just always reassure them that they looked beautiful and, try and tell them all the time to keep their self-esteem up. But I think you can't change how somebody feels about themselves. You can only tell them so much, and even now they'll look back at pictures of themselves when they're like 10, 11, 12, and they'll be like, oh, I look so bad. And I'm like, no, you look perfect. Like, you were perfect. You never had, in my opinion, you never had that, awkward teen look or teen phase, and you always looked beautiful. Every time we needed to do anything, anytime you dressed up, you always, in my opinion, look good. So I just try and reinforce them, everything. But I think, everyone just thinks it themselves. They see a picture of themselves and they think they look terrible. I'm sure if we saw that Hulk photo of you,
would
all probably say like, no, you look fine. You don't look as bad as you think you look. Maybe you're a little bit heavier in that picture, but you don't look bad, So everyone just has their own opinion. Everyone's their own worst critic. And that just comes from within. And I think that comes with age as well and experience.
Yeah.
And also, maybe, around menopause, you just don't give a shit anymore. It doesn't matter what you look like or what you've done because your looks are going to go, and it's what you've accomplished in your life and what you've done in your life to make you, feel good. I'm not, the best looking person or whatever, but I've accomplished a lot in my life. So I feel fine about what I've done and everything. So I don't need to be, a supermodel at this stage in my life, but
You'll be proud of me because I laughed when I saw that picture. I mean, I've been laughing all week, and I think part of me is traumatized, but part of me is still laughing. And I love what you said about being accomplished. You're 100% right. I think overall, I am very, very happy what I've done so far. But I was just thinking about that picture, and I thought, oh God, I have to do something. But you're right, and
but I think
we women are going to be our own worst critics. That's just
exactly. But I think now at our 50 plus age at this time, it's what Dr. Foz said. It's about the strength training and the agility and the stretching and the balance and all of that. Now it's just about health. If we lose weight and we tone and we happen to look better, great. But I really just want to be able to, honestly, I want to be able to bend down and pick up a pan and not throw my back out.
Exactly.
Because that's because that's what happens now. You
Oh,
know,
geez.
like about 2 years ago, I'm cooking. I open the drawer, where my pots and pans are. I bend down to pick up a pan and I throw my back out. And so for 3 days, my back is killing me. I have to get a professional massage. I have to use Bengay Icy Hot. I can't,
Oh, geez.
I had to cancel some of my office. And all I did was bend down to pick up a frying pan.
Yeah, you're right.
So at this point, I'm not like trying to be 110 pounds. I just want to be able to pick up my shoe off the floor or not fall down the stairs so easily or, be able to, walk up the stairs and not be out of breath by the time I get up the stairs, that I can't,
100%.
catch my breath. So, and everybody has to find their own health journey. My
Yeah.
PCP told me many, many years ago that she doesn't really care what I weigh or what her patients weigh. She doesn't care about BMI or anything. She just wants you to be active. She's like, I want you to just do 30 to 45 minutes of some activity a day. It doesn't matter what it is. She shared that she likes cycling, so that's her activity. If you like walking on a treadmill, great. If you want to do F45, great. If you want to just take your dog around the block for a walk, great. But just do some sort of exercise every day. She was not too concerned about the actual weight. It was just more like the activity. So
Love it. I love that
yeah.
advice. That's really great advice. I love that.
Yeah, I think you just have to ask, who are you trying to impress? And
Sure.
it's okay if you're trying to impress yourself. That's totally fine. There's no wrong answer. But in my opinion, that really dictates I'm trying to impress my doctor when my blood test comes out like that. I'm trying to impress myself that I could, I could do the 10,000 steps all over San Diego when my friends drag me and don't tell me. But little things like that, I think there's a lot of beautiful, good-looking people. I mean, here living in Los Angeles, right? But I think there's also a lot of them that are emotionally bothered, and
Well, the thing is I think it's a question of like, why are you concerned what somebody else might think? Like that's maybe also a question. Like, why do we care what
right?
somebody else thinks at all?
But it totally
And
makes
that's
sense. I mean, yeah, but it totally makes sense to look good, because why not, right?
Yeah.
Um, just
I think that was more of a concern, I think, when people are younger. But like I said, I think once you get older in this age range, I think you really just don't care as much as people think. You don't care what they think about what you've done with your life or what you're doing with your life. So I think it definitely is a younger person's thing. I think my girls being 20 something, I think they're probably in that mindset where they're wanting to go out and they're with a lot of other friends and they want to look good and they want to dress good, and they sort of have still a limited self-esteem. They're not 100% comfortable with themselves in their own skin, and I think that comes with maturity and age.
Yeah. I think so. And I think, you go back to saying, what we've accomplished or what one accomplished. Doesn't have to be, I mean, accomplishments it's different for everybody. I think I'm pretty proud of this group of what we've done so far. And we're pretty, I think, lucky. But we've made our luck. I mean, all of us have worked really hard. And we're lucky who we surround ourselves with too, because he's okay with me. He's like, he's smart. He's like, you're always beautiful. I'm like, shut up. But the point is,
that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
yeah, and and you're right. You're absolutely right. He's very comfortable where he's at, and rightfully so. I mean, he's really healthy. But as long as you're happy with yourself, then all will be good. I mean, I'm not trying to make this like sound Pollyanna, but all I'm saying is I'm looking for ways that can improve myself at this age, and I 100% agree with you. It's not throwing out our back. It's able to stretch, and one thing he did say, he's like, you are looking skinnier. And I can guarantee you, ladies, I don't think I've lost any weight. I went on the scale the other day. I'm like, what the hell? But if I look at myself, I feel like I'm much more toned. And I think that's where I'm focusing on myself right now with, the F45 and, saw that article and thanks, Dr. Ray and Dr. Foz for letting me know, it's helpful. Exercise is helpful, in general, but it may not, save me 100%, but it, may help for sure. And
It does reduce cardiovascular risk and it does reduce cancer risk. That's 100%
absolutely.
factual.
And you know, yeah. So and that's what the article did say. So I was hopeful, and I think I was more hopeful because I was doing something like F45. I'm not saying anyone who doesn't do F45 or doesn't do Orange Theory, which Orange Theory is great too. No, I mean, like you said, Dr. Ray, walking the dog or taking a walk or being 45, I think that does help, and it also provides a lot of clarity too. It's not physical, but mental. When I leave there, I'm like, yeah, I did something and I feel good about myself. So, thank you, ladies. This was helpful.
Good. It's important for mental health too. That's
Yeah.
absolutely true.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So go for it.
when it comes to impressing, does it matter if they say you always wear nice new underwear in case you get into an emergency?
I so adhere to that. I tell Wayne, oh shoot, I tell W, I'm like,
I can't say I've ever paid attention to anybody's underwear ever.
Yeah, my W's like, who cares if I'm going to ER? It's probably in an ambulance. It's probably because they're just gonna rip it off. Who cares? I'm like, you always should just make sure you're clean.
Yeah, I mean, if it's
Well-
a true emergency, they're gonna just get their scissors out and cut everything off. So they're not looking, they're not caring, they're trying to assess you immediately. They're calling out your vitals, they're calling out, whether you have an airway or not, calling out orders. So no one's really looking. I mean,
It's like, not that. That's my good bra.
no, they'll cut it. If you're in an accident, yeah, they need to get your clothes off immediately so they can assess all your injuries. So they whip out their scissors and they'll cut your clothes off within the first couple of minutes of you being there.
Oh, I have a question for you, Dr. Ray. Whenever they tell you, for both of you, when the doctors tell you to take off your clothes, put it aside, do you guys even peek like whether they folded their clothes or just?
Oh, that's a good one.
No.
So I don't look at their clothes really because my focus is just on the patient and honestly, getting in and out of the room. But what my biggest pet peeve about their clothes is that in my dressing room, and my exam room, and I'm sure others too, I have a hook on the back of the door. I have at least one chair. Some of the rooms have two chairs. And then I have my stool. And my stool's on wheels, and that's where I sit because I got to sit there and roll around and, do your exam and, move around. And the patients, out of all those options, will put all their clothes on my stool.
Oh, no.
100%.
And
all the time. And it's
I walk
annoying.
in, and that's the first thing I see, and immediately I'm just like, son of a bitch. Like, do you not realize, like, where am I supposed to sit? There's only one medical type of stool here or one medical type of chair in here. You sit on the exam table. There's a chair here. There's a hook there, and there's my seat. Why are you putting your clothes on my seat? So I have to. So I have to walk in, and then I stand and I put on gloves and I take all their stuff and I put it onto their chair. Because I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to sit. This is where I'm supposed to sit and take my notes and write everything.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Take that space. Yeah. You know what the problem is to me? Excuse me. I'm going to have to cough here.
So it's absolutely like, please don't do that. That's the biggest pet peeve. The stool in there is for us, for the doctors.
Well, what it is, it isn't that that's my throne. How dare you take my throne, you plebe. It's not that.
Right.
It's really more, you have no common courtesy for the fact that there's another person who's coming in here.
Right. But it's like, where am I supposed to sit? Or sometimes they have a person with them. So they're sitting on the exam table, their family member sitting in the chair, and they pile all their stuff, including their cell phone and their purse, on my stool. And I walk in and I'm like, okay, where am I supposed to sit? I have to do your PAP exam. I need your legs to be up. I got to sit on something so I can get in there. So what am I supposed to do? So it's so annoying.
Do you think you're going to stand while you do the PAP? I mean, honestly, I think the first thing you do, when I go into my doctor's office, you're 100% right. There's
Yeah.
a chair, and I fold my clothes nice and neat because I have my mother in her. Always make sure everything is nice. You need to be clean and proper. And you're right, because I know my doctor's going to sit in the stool and she's going to go around and assess me.
But see,
What
that's
is
the
your?
difference.
They think you're going to stand and oh
You
God.
are thinking about somebody else's needs. And in these patients who do this, they're like, I'm here. I'm just going to occupy all of
Wow.
this space, and it's a lack of common courtesy.
That's
It's got that you are polite enough and intelligent enough to think of the fact that there's going to be another person coming in here. Where are they going to sit? Oh no, I was going to expect them to stand the whole time, or maybe they have their own things. Like you, it's the lack of understanding. There'll be another person entering into this space. You're considerate and kind.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not.
A good lesson to anyone listening to this.
Well, it's just remember that we want to help you every time I have to like move your stuff. So that's one less few minutes that I can have listening to your story or thinking about what your problem is.
Wow.
I'm worried about where to put your stuff. And what I hate is when they leave their shoes like in the middle of the floor. I'm like, move your shoes.
So funny. No, you'll be your happy patient. I always like fold my clothes, put them on a chair, and I do move my shoes to totally on the side of the wall away from the exam table because I do know you're going to have to go around and assess and different angles. So that's funny. I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, but what those clothes consist of, I don't care. I've never once paid attention. Like, oh, look at this. Like it's just like there's a pile of clothes in my way or not.
Now you
Yeah,
guys,
I never.
Go on, Dr. Ray.
I never look at if their clothes are in the right location. I never even look at them. So I don't even know what you're wearing or what you're anything like that. But if I have to put on gloves and pick up your clothes and then move them, then I might notice something about them. But it's because I have to move them. And if I'm in a bad mood or I'm feeling a little cheeky that day, I'll say something smart like, I'm going to move your clothes from my chair, something like that to be like, this is my chair. This is where I sit. Don't put your clothes on my chair.
You know what? But you probably have something
need to sit.
But shouldn't that be the nurse that kind of checks you in and tells you to?
Okay, hold on. Let me just stop that right then and there.
Okay.
So yes, that's supposed to. I mean, the place that I work has a very complex and detailed workflow just for what we're talking about. And for various reasons that we can talk about after this podcast is over. But the thing is the person who rooms them or the medical assistant or the nurse or whatever your situation is will give them instructions. You can put your clothes here. They don't pay attention. It's like, I think everybody is they're either inconsiderate, which is more people, than not that are just inconsiderate. They're like, yeah, whatever. Or I think they're just so nervous about having to take off their clothes. They're like, everything, you just forgot everything. So even though there's clear instructions, it doesn't happen. And a lot of exam rooms don't really have the physical space because there's a lot of requirements. There's like OSHA requirements. There's like healthcare institution requirements about like where things can go and what things have to be where and what things have to be separated. And for various reasons that I think are sometimes really funny and sometimes make a lot of sense, but there isn't always a single place in every exam room for you to put your stuff. And so even if you're in this, this doctor's office who has, 3, 4, 6, 10, whatever exam rooms, they may be different depending on the layout of the different office. Like it's the corner office or the corner exam room versus the one that's in the middle of the hall versus the weird one that's over here. So there isn't like a standard. And so people just don't listen.
Even when you go like to get a massage, they instruct you, oh, go ahead and undress and go ahead and put your clothes over here. And I feel like 99% of the people, when you get a massage, they listen. They don't put their clothes like on the the massage table or something where it's not supposed to go. But patients don't listen. I mean, so many times we tell them, take off all your clothes, take off your bra and your underwear and put on this gown. And when I walk in for a PAP exam, they still have their underwear on.
Okay.
And I'm like,
that happens all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm like,
it's really funny. I'm like, what were you? And this isn't like, I understand you have somebody who's never had one and they have no idea what this, but we're talking about experienced people and you're like, what?
You're like, let me light a candle
today.
Yeah, so I'm like, I need to. You have to get your underwear off for me to do your pap exam, and they're just like, oh, okay. Yeah.
But then, okay, now do you guys have to stay in the room, or do you like, I'm going to excuse myself and leave, and I'm going to come back, and hopefully it'll be off, because that's even worse for me. Like, can you imagine? They're like, okay, now
No,
I have
I
to
leave.
You do, okay,
I
got
always
it.
leave.
Yeah.
Even if it's a
So
guy,
I leave.
if I have a male patient.
Oh Jesus! Can you imagine? Then that's more time on. Okay, they're spending more time then on your.
Well, if it's a male patient and they're not comfortable, like they have something like they have shoulder pain or something. I need to check out your shoulder, and you're wearing like a dress shirt and a tie and a coat or something. It's like I will say, hey, let me give you this gown or whatever, put on, and I will step out of the room.
Yeah,
Like,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
Always. But it takes time away from the time I have to spend with the patient.
Right.
Yeah.
So every time a patient does that, it's on them. Well, actually, it's not. See, this is the problem with it. This is the difficulty. Is it's on them, but it's really on me, because instead of having 15 minutes to deal with your problem, I now have 12.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
now I have to move faster, and
Right.
I better hope I'm right, because I just lost a few minutes to ask you a few additional questions about this, or to be able to actually think. That's the other thing too. I do like a few minutes to sometimes think about what I'm doing, as
Yeah.
opposed
Let
to
me put
just like shooting from the hip.
So when I go into the room and the patient still has her underwear and bra on and I need them to be removed, I tell them to remove it, and then I go to the next patient's room. So the patient just ends up waiting longer, because I'm not going to be slowed down. I got to keep to my schedule. So I'll walk in there, and if I'm supposed to do a breast exam and a pelvic exam and they've got their bra and underwear on, I'll just say, oh, you need to take your bra and underwear off, go ahead and undress, and I'll be back. And then I go walk into the next room and I see that patient, because I'm not going to stand in the hallway for 3-4 minutes while they're undressing and waste that time. I'll go see the next patient. So that patient just sort of fell out of line. So I'll see the next patient. When I'm done with that patient, then I'll go back to that first patient and then do her exam.
Okay, I have a question
Sometimes
here.
that happens too, but often depends on structures. You can't always.
Like a
Thank
breast
God you can.
exam.
That makes sense.
A breast exam. A woman, like something's up with her breast. Do you see a primary or an OB-GYN? Or depends on your insurance?
Whoever, either one.
Yeah, either one. I definitely have patients coming to see me. I think if you're established with an OB-GYN, you can definitely come into an OB-GYN and see them. If you don't have one, then you can go see your PCP. But in my case and in my area, it's often easier to get in to see me than the PCP. So they'll come to see me
probably
first.
True.
Yeah.
And then I do a lot of women's care. I do a lot of pelvic exams, treating, pelvic infections and breast exams and all that stuff. But and pap smears, all those things. But your birth control. So your primary care can do some gynecology. But on the real, I'm fine with it if you go to your gynecologist. Like, go ahead. I've got enough problems to deal with.
Because Dr. Ray always tells us, if it's not below the belt and between your legs, go see Dr. Foz. With our silly questions. I got a cut on my knee. What should I do?
That's funny.
But that's the benefit of having a doctor who's a friend, or a friend who's a doctor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can just text them all the silly questions.
Exactly. Well, that concludes this episode.